Lund Boats proudly presents the ultimate fishing experience. This week on Lund's The Ultimate Fishing Experience, we hit the tournament trail with Jeff Gustafson, pre-fishing for an FLW bass event on the Mississippi River in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Professional bass anglers travel far and wide, fishing a variety of waters, from natural lakes and reservoirs to rivers, and even the Great Lakes in pursuit of large and smallmouth bass. With no two bodies of water the same, pre-fishing is critical to establish multiple fish catching patterns before it's blast-off time come tournament day. So we'll jump on the boat and spend the day with Gussy while he explains his strategy to prepare for the big event. No matter if you finish tournaments or not, his tactics for finding and catching fish fast will help you become a better bass angler.
That's gonna get you paid on this place, big time. Hey guys, Jeff Gustafson here. Welcome to today's show. We're down on the Mississippi River. I've got my dad with me, getting ready for an FLW tour event. So this is our 6th event of the season. So far this year, we've been to Alabama, Texas, Florida, Kentucky, Arkansas, and now we're finally up north on the Mississippi. We get 3 days to practice for these events, and it's the final day, so we got to go find some fish, kind of fine-tune what we've been doing. So no matter if you like to tournament fish or not, this show's going to be all about trying to find bass in a short amount of time and try and put a pattern together. That's our goal today. Really jam a lot of rods into this thing. And go to some of these new places that you've never been to before, and you're not really sure what you're gonna end up fishing with. So I'm gonna have a bunch of stuff out on the deck today and try and figure out how to catch some of these fish. If I was just, gonna have 4 or 5 outfits to kind of cover me no matter where I went, I'd have a flipping stick. They work a lot better for handling the heavier line, heavier lures. Some of the baits with heavier hooks that you need some muscle to set the hooks with, a jig or maybe a spinner bait. But I'd have a couple 7-foot medium heavy bait casters, and I'd probably have one with braid on it and one with fluorocarbon. And then you got to have a couple spinning rods. You can use a drop shot on those, a little jig with some plastic, whether it's a tube or a grub, just to cover your finesse fishing kind of things. So I don't care where you are, whether you're in Florida or Texas or the Great Lakes, spinning rods and finesse techniques will put fish in the boat. So that's a 2.5, 2 3/4 pound fish. That's the kind that will get you paid probably in this tournament. Those are the sort of the quality that we're looking for. And then if you can catch one or two kicker fish over 3.5 pounds each day, you'll probably have a good chance at making the cut and making some money. So that's the goal today. So we're probably not going to catch a ton of fish out here, doing that. This isn't going to be the best show for just seeing a million fish get caught, but just sort of walk you through how we pre-fish for these events and prepare for them. And I'm going to keep moving around here and mark as many of these suckers as I can.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Mercury Marine. Go boldly.
It's fairly dirty water in general at this place, but when you get into some of these areas that have lots of grass, it filters it out and cleans it up a bit. So when we were through here a couple days ago, there was quite a few fish on beds out here, and basically it's probably hard to see on the camera, but when we're going along here, there's a lot of holes in the grass, and that's where these beds are, or fish pitch next to some of these heavier clumps, and that seems to be where the bites are going to be. There's a big one right there. That one's nice and hidden too.
That's it. Yeah, that is a good one. Right now it's dead flat, not a ripple in the water. It's supposed to blow 20 to 30 miles an hour today, so it's a good time to do this kind of looking around right now before the wind comes up, because you won't be able to see those if there's fish on them later on when she starts to blow.
One thing about the way that I have my hummingbirds rigged up on this boat, I have them linked together, and that allows me to see waypoints that I put on the front unit on the back at the console. Anytime you're fishing offshore structure, it's huge. You drive right up to the waypoint, whether you have it marked on your console or on your bow, you can see it on both units, and it really makes you very efficient at getting set up and getting fishing as fast as possible on spots that you've established are good and deserved a waypoint. Hummingbird also has a whole bunch of different waypoints. Like, I don't know how many exactly there is on here, but I bet you there's 50 or 75 waypoints on that machine. So you can use different icons and symbols to mark different things. You know, for this particular event, I've got little fish symbols on there for some of the beds that I have marked, and then I'm just using a blue dot for general areas where I got some bites, that sort of thing. I'll use like the skull and crossbone symbol if it's you know, maybe a nasty rock or a log that you could hit. Just, you know, if it's something that's important, you can put a specific icon on it. Maybe we should go to that other lake while we still got a little, well, it's sunny out, and we can come back here if that's a bust and just keep expanding. But
Yeah, okay, 10-4.
if nothing else, I mean, there's fish here. We can
Yeah.
just come and grind it out. But these damn Canadians are so loud. This is my 5th year fishing the FLW Tour, so got to see a lot of lakes all over the country. We fish six events per year. This year there's actually 7 regular season events, so you know, we go to a lot of lakes that are very different and all over the country. And so putting a pattern together is pretty important on a lot of these places. We only get 3 days to practice. There's 165 anglers, so you know, typically our practice days are from dark to dark, and try to cover as much stuff as you can. And over the course, they're a 4-day event. Everyone fishes for 2 days. The top 20 fish a day 3, and then the top 10 fish day 4. And so if you happen to make it, you know, into the weekend, generally you're gonna have to, you probably have a pretty good little program going, a pattern of some sort. And a lot of times you do end up having to run new water, and that's just part of the nature of doing this. And the guys that are really good, your Andy Morgan, Brian Thrift, very consistent, and they're super good at just being able to make calls on the water and just fish the right kind of stuff over the course of a 4-day event to be able, because you know, especially when you're fishing shallow, a lot of times you go through some of these areas and you know, you catch them, they don't really replenish themselves. Up north, some of these other lakes, they may, but a lot of the places that we fish, you know, especially particularly shallow fish, they're not necessarily going to replenish. So it's important to be able to duplicate what you're doing and not just fall in love with a specific spot or a stretch. Yeah, not a big one, but keeper. All right, well, we're gonna take a break. When we get back, we're gonna go through my boat and show you how I have everything organized. You know, a big part of successful fishing in general is being organized, so I've got a bunch of gear tucked away in this boat, and we're gonna have a look at it.
Experienced bass anglers carry a full arsenal of jerkbaits, for they understand the universal appeal of a minnow profile anywhere bass swim. Perhaps their utility shines the brightest during the pre-spawn period. In smallmouth country, main lake flats with boulders and scattered laydowns are gold mines. Side imaging coupled with mapping reveal these areas in amazing clarity. Position the boat off the edge of the drop-off and start by making long parallel casts down the edge, then fan casting up on the structure between 12 and 3 o'clock. I spot lock using Minnkota's Ultrix trolling motor when I hook up. The trolling motor takes over, pinning the boat in place and freeing me up to make quick follow-up casts. Bass are particularly keen on ultra-realistic, quick-darting jerkbaits like the tournament-proven Megabassito Vision 110. Experiment with different colors and cadences until the fish tell you what they want.
As a traveling tournament bass pro, this boat is my office. So I've got everything situated in here the way I like it, and I'm just gonna give you a quick run through of how I have everything set up. So on the back, I got 12-foot Minnkota talons. I've got a 10-inch Atlas jack plate, and I've actually got the talon mounting brackets that go right on the jack plate. Everything's rock solid. 250 Pro XS on the back. Back compartments, I've got cranking battery oil over here. 3 cranking batteries in here for my trolling motor, my 36-volt system, some boat bumpers, keep an extra prop in here. This boat has a ton of storage in it, so it's pretty sweet. I can pretty much bring along whatever I want. Over here, I've got you know, some of my maps, sunscreen, marker buoys. I've got a little dry box with you know, a bunch of SD cards, batteries. Got the live well here, great big live well with a divider, so my co-angler and I can each keep our limits of fish in it. Moving up to the console, I got 2 Humminbird Helix 10s, one mounted in-dash in the console, another one on a TH Marine Kong mount. This thing's rock solid. I can go out on the Great Lakes, big water, and this thing's not gonna move. Heading up to the front of the boat, we got massive rod storage. I've got probably 20 to 25 fishing rods in this thing right now, and they're a mess. I'm gonna get organized for our tournament that starts tomorrow. Tons of tackle storage in here. Over here I keep some of my clothes and life jackets, a little bit more tackle. Got a good cooler right here, keeps ice in all day. And up on the front, we got some more storage. This one's actually completely empty right now. That's how much storage is in this boat. And I've got some more tackle in this one. Moving to the very front of the boat, we got the new Minnkota Ultrix trolling motor. It's awesome. Spot lock right on the foot pedal. I've got a remote for my talons so I can operate those from the front of the boat. And I've got a flush mounted Humminbird Helix 10 right here. So this thing is a fishing machine.
Jeff, he fished his first tournament when he was 10 years old. He got it for a Christmas present. I'd really never even fished a bass tournament before, but he'd read books, watched all the bass shows on TV, and so he wanted, that's what he wanted for Christmas, is an entry fee into the Kenora Bass International in Kenora. And we fished together probably for about 5 years. And then 15, 16, he moved on to bigger and better things and started fishing with a couple of his friends, and they were actually very successful. They came second, won the KBI one year, and that's really what got him going. Started young and had a real passion for bass fishing, and hasn't looked back. And this is his life now, and hopefully there's a bright future ahead for him.
You know, I got the Minnkota talons on the back of this boat, and they're pretty awesome if you're fishing in the shallow water. I mean, if you want to sit somewhere, you can be really sneaky. Your trolling motor makes a lot more noise than you think when you're in the shallow water, and that spooks fish more than anything. But the advantage to these talons is I'm looking at a guy out fishing out here that's got power poles on, and those guys, when they put them down, it gives away that there's something there. And you can see when they put them down. With these things, I can put them down and nobody knows. That's kind of slick. But I'm throwing a popper type frog right now. My dad's just throwing a regular frog. For the really heavy stuff, the regular frog goes through it better, but the popper ones, if you're, you know, throwing around holes and more sort of sparse open stuff, I like the popper a little better. You can fish it slower and make a little bit of noise with it. And we're kind of just covering some ground in this area where we know there's fish, looking for, you know, little 100-yard stretches that are good, and that sort of seems to be the deal out here. And when you find them, they don't seem to be super hard to catch, so obviously we're just sort of burning up some water here, looking for some bites. Big frog chasing my frog. There's another one coming towards it. There's two of them. They're fighting now.
There's one.
What do you got?
I don't know what kind of species, but I got a fish.
Get him up.
Big bass.
Nice.
Big one. Giant.
Ooh.
Wow.
That right there
It's a tourney fish.
is, that's gonna get you paid on this place, big time. A couple of those a day, and then you make the, maybe make the weekend. We don't take very many pictures in practice, but catch a big one. That's the biggest one of the week.
This is what we were catching them in last night. Yeah, just before we came in last evening. Pencil reads like this. So before I made that cast, I figured, oh, this is good. Sure enough, first cast, nice fish.
That's developing a pattern, and that's what we need to do in these tournaments when we go to these bodies of water we've never been to before, is just because you can't fish everything, and that 8-hour day in the tournament goes by pretty quick. So you want to be fishing stuff that's, you know, sort of appropriate to what's working, and try and duplicate where where you're catching fish.
Now you can see here we're starting to get out of the bait. So what I want to do, I'm going to use my mapping, waypoints, and where this bait was. And this feature called Trackback allows me to go back, slide back, and mark those big pods of bait. So there's a big pot of bait. I'm going to save that. Right there, you can see how far back it is on the screen. I'm going to go back farther yet. I'm going to mark each individual school of bait with a waypoint and build myself a trolling pattern. You can see where the schools of bait started, and look at how I'm building this trolling pass that I'll make when we come through that school of fish, okay? I'm gonna go back to right where we saw that first big school of bait, save it as a waypoint. You can see how far we've gone. You can see the distance that we've traveled. I didn't lose that information. This technology allows me to keep it in front of me, even though I'm not seeing it. I can track back, lay those waypoints down. Now I can go back and make an effective trolling pass knowing exactly where those schools of bait are at. So through the use of Lowrance's exclusive feature Trackback, I can go back, lay down waypoints on those schools of bait or those predator fish. I can build my trolling pass based on the pass information. Then I can go back and make a perfect pass through those schools of fish.
The other thing about bass, no matter where you go, the time of year obviously plays a big factor, and if it's anywhere near spring, you can pretty well expect to be looking shallow. They spawn in the spring, and down in Florida or Texas, it might be as early as February, even earlier in Florida, but we're in May now, but we're up in Minnesota and Wisconsin, so they're spawning here now. But that gives you a good idea in the spring. As you move towards summer, most bodies of water, you're gonna wanna fish more main basin stuff, main lakes type of stuff. That's where probably the biggest numbers of fish are gonna be on most types of lakes and reservoirs and rivers. Into the fall and winter, it's sort of different. Up north, a lot of the fish really get on main lake structure, and that's where they're gonna spend the winter. And in the south, they'll actually go into a lot of creeks and sort of follow the bait wherever the shad are going. So it's different, but wherever you're gonna fish, you can usually find out pretty easy the sort of seasonal movements of the fish, and that gives you a good place to start looking for them. Oh, that wasn't very good. This kind of grass we're around here now, we call this maiden cane around home. And I know up around Lake of the Woods, they love this stuff. So I've seen it a couple places on the river, but everywhere I've seen it, it's been dirt shallow. And this actually has some water around it, so I made like 4 or 5 flips and had a nice bite there. So this boat, the 2075 Pro V Bass, I'm running a Mercury 250 Pro XS on the back, and I have an Atlas jack plate. Comes to reliability, I've ran this motor for like 10 years, since 2007, never had a major issue before, and that's pretty awesome. I put a lot of hours on every year, and it's fast, gets out of the hole quick, so motor that I have a lot of confidence in. And to get the absolute peak performance out of any boat, it must be propped correctly. First off, for most motors, but especially high performance motors like this 250 Pro XS, stainless steel is the only way to go. Other than that, you have the choice of a 3 or 4 blade prop. A lot of walleye anglers prefer the 4 blade, like Mercury's Bravo 1. In most cases, it's going to troll down slower than the 3 blade. Tends to be a little faster out of the hole for heavier boats, and many feel they get a better lift in cornering with the 4 blades. On my boat, I found Mercury's 24-pitch 3-blade Fury gave me the best speed and performance. Talk to your local Mercury dealer or go to Mercury Marine's website to help you find which prop is the best fit for your boat. Big bass.
Yeah, we were looking at that other one that blew up, and that one hit at the same time. Nice one, and you just ate that hook.
Well, we're just about ready to wrap things up here. 3 days of practice. It's certainly not as easy out here as the Mississippi River is sort of famous for. Lots of fish, but I've got a couple areas that there's definitely plenty of fish around. Just going to be a matter of putting them in the boat. Those last couple fish on the frog, that was sort of nice to see. Get them up. Dad had a few blow-ups and caught a nice one. So yeah, that's where we're at. We've covered quite a bit of ground, and now it's time we get a day off tomorrow, and then the tournament starts the next day. So hopefully the hard work pays off, and we can catch some decent fish in the tournament and go home with some money in our pockets. That's the goal. This is why you bring lots of baits to a place like this. Right there. We've had 5 tournaments so far, and I'm in 26th place in points. We get points where we finish in each event. And the top 35 make the Forest Wood Cup, which will take place in August.
Got him.
So that's kind of everybody's goal that's fishing the tour, is to qualify for the Cup, and I'm hanging in there right now. I had 2 really good tournaments to start the year, and then I've had a few sort of mediocre finishes the last few. So I got to get my act together this week and have a good tournament and sort of take the pressure off going into that last one. But hope you enjoyed the show today and learned a few things about, you know, preparing to tackle new water when you go bass fishing. This is it's not always easy, but it's usually pretty fun, and you know, getting to fish new water is always a good learning experience.
Thanks for joining us. If you'd like more information, check out lundboats.com or these other online outlets.